It's minus 40 degrees. Oxygen levels are 40% lower than its sea level, and somewhere in this frozen wasteland, a mother hasn't eaten in 6 days. She's about to make a choice that will determine whether her cubs live or die. But here's what no one tells you about the ghost of the mountains. She's not actually a solitary creature. For 2 years of her life, she becomes something far more dangerous. She becomes a mother. Today, we're going inside a world that fewer than 50 humans have ever witnessed. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why scientists call her the architect of the high-altitude ecosystem, and why what happens in the next decade will determine if she survives at all.
The Himalayas, the Karakoram, the Tian Shan. These are the rooftops of the world. Places where the air is thin, the temperatures are brutal, and most predators simply cannot survive. But she thrives here. Panthera onsha, the snow leopard, living above 3,000 meters where most mammals would suffocate. This film is based on scientific research and field studies. Some visuals in this presentation are AI generated to help us bring this hidden world to life, always with respect for accuracy, nature, and conservation. Let's start with something that shocked me when I first learned it. See those paws? They're larger than a Bengal tiger's paws on a cat that weighs half as much. Why? Because every single feature on this animal is an engineering solution to an impossible problem. Those massive paws function as biological snowshoes. Watch. She distributes her 75-pound body across such a wide surface area that she floats on snow that would swallow a wolf. But here's the part most documentaries miss. Flip those paws over, and unlike any other big cat on Earth, the undersides are covered in thick fur. It's like she's wearing built-in winter boots. Now look at that tail. Nearly 3 feet long, almost the length of her entire body. Scientists thought it was just for balance, but recent research revealed something incredible that I'll explain in a moment. But the adaptation that truly separates her from every other big cat, it's invisible. Her nasal passages are enlarged, lined with extra blood vessels that warm the freezing air before it hits her lungs. She's literally built with a heating system inside her skull. Oh, and that tail I mentioned? Researchers discovered she wraps it around her face while sleeping. It's a furry scarf that doubles as a rudder during 30-foot leaps across vertical cliff faces. Now you understand the hardware, but what about the software? How does an animal that lives alone for most of its life actually communicate? The answer involves a secret language that took scientists decades to decode. That sound, that's not a mistake. Snow leopards cannot roar. Their vocal structure is completely different from lions or tigers. Instead, she makes this. Scientists call it a yowl. I call it one of the most haunting sounds in nature. But here's the thing. Sound travels poorly in the mountains. Too many cliffs, too much wind. So she evolved something better, a communication system that works even when she's miles away. Scent marking. By spraying urine onto rocks at precise locations along her territory, she creates what researchers describe as a chemical bulletin board. Each mark contains her identity, her reproductive status, and how recently she passed through. These messages can persist for up to 3 weeks. It's like leaving a voicemail that any snow leopard in the region can read. She also scrapes the ground with her back feet, creating these V-shaped mounds that serve as visual markers. I was here. This is mine. But watch what happens when she has cubs. The vocalization changes completely. This is called chuffing. It's a gentle, repetitive greeting that says one thing: you're safe, I'm here. And that maternal instinct, it kicks in long before the cubs are born. What she does in the month before giving birth completely rewrites everything we thought we knew about snow leopard behavior. Look at this data. This is a female's movement pattern in a normal month. Vast territory, constant motion, unpredictable routes. Now, look at the month before she gives birth. Her world shrinks to almost nothing. She barely moves. She's not hunting as far. She's not patrolling as widely. Why? Because she's doing something critical. She's choosing a den. And this choice will determine whether her cubs survive the first few weeks of life. She looks for caves, rock overhangs, or crevices near ridge lines where she can see predators coming. Locations with southern exposure trap more warmth. Places near frozen water sources she can access quickly. This footage was captured using specialized thermal cameras, one of the first times scientists observed this moment in the wild. In May or June, she gives birth. Usually 2 cubs, sometimes 3. And here's what makes these first few weeks so precarious. They're born blind. They can't walk. They can't regulate their own body temperature. In an environment where a single cold night can kill, they're 100% dependent on a mother who can never take a break. And what she does next, the sacrifice she makes for the first 8 weeks, goes against every survival instinct she has. Under normal circumstances, snow leopards are crepuscular, most active at dawn and dusk when prey animals move between grazing areas. It's the optimal hunting window. But watch what happens when she becomes a mother. Those dawn and dusk peaks, they disappear. For 8 weeks, she suppresses her natural hunting rhythm to stay with her cubs during the coldest hours. But she still needs to eat. She still needs water. So researchers discovered something fascinating. A new peak emerges. Midday, the warmest part of the day. She leaves the den only when outside temperatures are highest, ensuring the cubs can maintain body heat in her absence. Think about what this means. She's fighting millions of years of evolutionary programming, all to keep 2 tiny cubs alive. When she is in the den, she's rarely resting. She's grooming constantly. This behavior, called allo-grooming, does more than keep the cubs clean. It stimulates their circulation, aids digestion, and creates a chemical bond that will last years. For 8 weeks, she exists in a kind of suspended state, not quite hunting, not quite resting, just surviving, just waiting. But then, around week 5, something magical happens, and this is where the real story begins. 5 weeks old. Eyes open. First steps. and for the first time, solid food. She brings prey back to the den, blue sheep, ibex, sometimes marmots, and lets them taste meat while still nursing. By week 10, they're fully weaned. By month 3, they're following her outside the den. And this is where we see something extraordinary. She doesn't just provide food, she provides curriculum. Watch her posture here. Belly low, tail straight back for balance. She holds this position for up to 20 minutes while the cubs try to copy her. They're terrible at it, obviously, but every failed attempt builds muscle memory they'll need when hunting solo. At 6 months, she takes them on patrol. And this footage, right here, this is what researchers waited 8 years to capture. She's teaching them to read. Every rock, every scrape, every spray of urine tells a story. A male passed here 3 days ago. This territory is claimed. Avoid this area. And then watch the cub on the right. First attempt at leaving a mark. Not graceful, but it's the beginning of an identity. See them attacking her tail. This isn't just cute, it's training. That tail moves unpredictably, just like prey. Every pounce develops the explosive leg power they'll need for 30-foot leaps across cliff faces. She tolerates it, sometimes for hours, because she knows what they don't. Survival is learned, not inherited. By 12 months, the cubs are almost her size. By 17 months, they're consuming adult-sized portions, and something incredible happens to her behavior. Her activity patterns come roaring back. But look at this. They don't just return to normal, they exceed it. Her morning and evening hunting peaks are now higher than females without cubs. Why? Because she's now hunting for 3 adult-sized cats. She's burning more calories than at any other point in her life. And then, around 20 to 22 months, something bittersweet happens. They leave, one by one. Sometimes she watches from a distance. Sometimes she finds their scent marks months later, miles away. A message that says, "I was here. I survived." She returns to being a ghost until the cycle begins again. Everything I've just shown you, it might not exist in 50 years. She faces a 3-headed threat: habitat fragmentation as roads and mines cut through her territory, climate change pushing her prey higher up mountains with nowhere left to go, and retaliatory killings from herders who lose livestock. But here's what gives me hope. Organizations like the Snow Leopard Trust and WWF Nepal aren't just protecting cats, they're working with communities. Predator-proof corrals that protect livestock, insurance schemes that compensate herders for losses, rangers drawn from local villages who understand the landscape. Because here's the reality that changes everything. 42% of her habitat in Nepal lies outside any protected area. You can't fence off the Himalayas. The only conservation that works is conservation that includes the people who live there. There's a metaphor I keep coming back to when I think about her. Her paws are like the quiet whispers of wind across stone, unseen,
unheard, yet leaving marks that shape the mountains themselves. She's not just a predator, she's an architect. Every cub she raises, every territory she patrols, every prey population she keeps in balance, she's building something larger than herself. The snow leopard mother is proof that survival isn't just about strength, it's about patience, about sacrifice, about knowing when to be a ghost and when to be a guardian. Somewhere right now, in a cave you'll never find, on a mountain you'll never climb, a mother is wrapping her tail around two sleeping cubs. And that's the most important thing happening in the world.